Customers Matter is a podcast about customer-centred, omni-channel marketing in an age of digital disruption, mobility, and the Internet of Things. It's hosted by John O'Neill, a management consultant and founding owner of Commotion, an agency specialising in customer experience design and delivery.
So today I'm in Pyrmont in Sydney, where I'm joined by Sally Mack. Sally's a digital native and she specialises in content strategy and production. She also has her own business, the Mermaid Society, which promotes women in ocean sports, and she's a former digital producer with the highly trafficked surf website Coaster Watch. More than that, she did an amazing job for us, executive producing content for the website that showcased the Vizsla Sydney Surf Pro at Manly in February 2018. And I'm excited because today she's going to explain her approach to content and how to produce it efficiently and cost effectively. So Sally, welcome to Customers Matter.
Thanks for having me, John.
When did you join Coaster Watch and how long were you there for and what did you do?
Yeah, so in 2013 I had my daughter and I actually lost my job. So I started the Mermaid Society then, which was the women's ocean sports site, and it was based on news and results then because I didn't think any women's or girls surfing or ocean sports results were ever published anywhere, and they were never published fast. Obviously, the men's results usually get priority online and in print. So I created this platform, and because of that, a lot of people, the audience grew really quickly because I was interviewing the winners and people within the contest. As soon as the contest had finished, I get all the photos off the news feed. So Instagram and Facebook became like my Reuters. Essentially, it was live and I was pulling the content, I was finding all the info before the event managers could write the event results up for their site. So I was grabbing all their SEO and it kind of grew from there. And because I was doing that, I was interviewing so many people and just built this incredible network really fast. And a friend who was working at Coastal Watch asked me to apply for the editor's job. So I applied, didn't think I was going to get it because he kept telling me that I was up against three ex-magazine editors. So I was like, no chance. Just didn't really, put very much into it. So I guess I was more myself through that whole process and got the job, and then was a little bit scared about being able to take it on because I knew how big the audience was, and it's very core surf in a way. So, like a lot of people, traditionalists. And as a woman, I think that was a little bit confronting, first of all, and also being able to intuitively switch on to what kind of content they wanted and to be able to drive subscriptions and audience growth at the same time.
So tell me, because it chronologically happened first, the Mermaid Society, tell me what exactly is the Mermaid Society now? And you mentioned you grew an audience. How big is the audience there and what are you doing in that business these days?
So when I first, in the first edition of it, before I got the job at Coastal Watch, I was receiving up to 6,000 views a day on the site. So that's when it was basically news and results based. So all news, results, videos. I wasn't making very much of my own content. I was just doing a lot of writing. And I hadn't really got a grasp of what digital products were yet. As I moved into Coastal Watch, there were a lot of products already existing, but I guess the scope to be able to create them was a lot more, and I had budget.
What sort of products are you talking about?
So digital products, I'm talking about anything that is digitally available for someone to view or use or become immersed in. So, for example, we started board guides, wetsuit guides, video reviews, basically anything along that line that is a standalone product that you feel like is nearly a physical product that you can take and sell to an advertising, through advertising to a company.
Right, great. So what did that mean for how you evolved your approach to the Mermaid Society? So you had this period. How long were you at Coastal Watch for?
Nearly 3 years.
So you were the editor there for 3 years. You learned about creating, if you like, digital products that helped you monetize the Coastal Watch website and also had appeal to the audience. And then you've brought some of that know-how now back to the Mermaid Society. So what are you doing there that's different?
Yeah, so when I work on something, I'm pretty much 400% in, which is much to my husband's disgust. So Coastal Watch pretty much took up all of my time. The Mermaid Society, then I had to decide to deprioritize it. So it remained live because I was getting so much SEO traffic still remaining from that until the point where I closed it down to do a full refurb of the website. But I just forgot what the question was.
So your refurb of the website,
Yeah.
what did you do when you relaunched it? What's different about the Mermaid Society now?
Yeah, so everything that I learnt at Coastal Watch and all the products that we learnt to develop that actually connected and engaged with the audience on such a high level, but also brought in money because the advertisers, we found new budgets and we found this attractiveness to the brands that actually wanted to participate in, nearly physical products, things that people became dependent on, nearly as dependent as the cameras, but the cameras were the core of Coastal Watch. So they're coming to see the surf and watch the cameras, but they're there also because they want, the byproduct of that, which is education, which is any kind of product that's going to help them improve their surfing or the way that they look at the surf. So with the Mermaid Society, then going back to that, the refurb, I wanted to bring in all those things that I learned, especially about the advertising, being able to sell and talk to a brand and bring what the brand wants and connect that to an audience and create content that's making everyone happy. So
what are some examples of what you've done on the Mermaid Society, bringing that philosophy to bear?
Yeah, so I think with women and women's sport especially, women haven't always taken so much interest or detail into equipment as what men do. It's kind of like the tools philosophy with men. Men just love, their man shed and their tools. But I think now we're in an age where sport is so equalised between the genders that the education of gear and boards and pretty much anything that you can use that's going to enhance your experience in the water or with sport is going to be useful. So everything from pretty much anything to do with a guide is so useful to people, and it really has a real longevity online as well, because until that product becomes obsolete, it's going to remain there and people are going to remain searching for it. So those kind of products have been really proven to me through Coastal Watch and the Mermaid Society is a very successful model.
That's great. Now, just to change gears a bit, I want to ask you about how you set about bringing the Sydney Surf Pro website to life, because people who've seen that site have raved about it, and I know it was the content as much as the functionality, and probably more so, that got it those rave reviews, and that really came from you and your head. So tell me what you did there.
Oh, thanks, John. It was a really amazing opportunity to be able to work on that and have the freedom to kind of pull in all the ideas and experiences that I've gone through to make that content. And with Ethan, we talked about what was important as a part of the event and what was missing from the past events as well. And I think it's really important with digital content that you understand the balance between your core or your niche and the general population or the audience expanse that is out there. And with the Whistler Sydney Pro, it was very important to remember that, because the local community brings just as much to the event as what the surfers do. I kind of went by a lot of what I experienced through audience development at Coastal Watch, and that was that people love history, they love facts, they love education, and they love the nostalgia of all of that kind of culmination. So picking a significant event in that time and bringing back a lot of the icons of the era, different eras and of the industry as well, and to add the credibility to it all. That was kind of what I wanted to do, was make sure that everyone felt involved, but there was like a little bit of fun in there, a little bit of history, and
so for anyone who hasn't seen the site, can you just describe, and I'm sure everyone will be rushing to go check it out once they hear what you've got to say about it, but could you just describe the different navigation channels and the different content types that you created?
Yeah, so the homepage, I thought it was really important to have, as we discussed, like through a lot of the meetings, was have that video series that we created, The Road to Manly, predominant on the homepage, but also ensure the reason why people are coming there and hearing about it is because of the surfing. So to make sure the surfing was predominant on the homepage, because I think that with a lot of events, you kind of take a back step on it a little bit, and it kind of gets lost within the site. The site has to be easy for anyone to use, not just surfers. So, and also taking into account that the Whistler Sydney Surf Pro had such an incredibly huge international audience, a lot of who are from South America and may not have had English as their first language. So just making it a very visual pathway and journey for people to undertake.
And what about content types? So obviously it's not all text, and you mentioned before that you brought some history to life. What did you actually do? How did you create content for it, and what forms of content did you create?
So I thought it was really important at the start to talk to a lot of people, as many people as I could, about Manly, and that just became this crazy bubble that was infinite. So I talked to way too many people, I think, and now I feel like I need to be commissioned to write the history of Manly. But by speaking to those people, I really did find that I understood a lot more about the history and could summarise it for everyone that didn't know about it, and pick out a couple of really significant events to that core group that I was interviewing, and highlight those, one of which was the 1978 surfabout, which had 10-foot barrels, perfect barrels off North Stane, and it was by far the most significant surf event that anyone spoke about. So I thought to be able to bring that back to life and reignite everyone's excitement about that day. I mean, that day changed people's lives forever. Doug Lees, who used to be my boss, the general manager of Coastal Watch, watched that final between Larry Blair and Wayne Lynch, and he said he was doing his HSC, and he said that day was the fork in the road. I was either going to go down and do like finance and accounting, and I chose to just dedicate my life to the surf industry. And without Doug Lees now, the surf industry would be, half of what it is. So it was little stories like that made a really big impact. And I thought, well, if they made that big an impact on one person's life, imagine how the whole community feels. And so that was kind of the path that I went down, was to be able to highlight that history.
And you didn't just do it in text. So can you tell me about your approach to different content types?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to be able to create content that crosses all boundaries. Like when you're learning, there's the 3 different ways of learning, and it's very similar to reading or interacting with content online, especially when most of it's on a mobile device these days. So you need to have everything transcribed. Transcription is really important, not only for SEO purposes, because all the words are scanned by Google and that helps generate your traffic, but also just because a lot of people out there still want to read, and watching the video might not be their thing. They might watch 10 seconds of it and then be over it, and they'll scroll down a little bit and they'll read the transcription or the summary. So I was able to transcribe a little bit of that and then create this timeline, which was amazing as well, to be able to see it on, like a visual but also contextual timeline. And that's all supported the video series. And the videos were no longer than 2.5 minutes. So I made each one of those quite consumable for an average person.
So that was all the great content that was on the site before the event.
Yep.
But you continued to do really interesting things during the event. Tell me what content you made during the event, and why did you make that content?
So during an event, I think you need to remember that a lot of the people that are visiting the site aren't there to kind of ingest everything in big amounts. They just want to be there. They want to see updates. They want to see scores. They want to see results, and little snippets from the day. And most importantly, the main reason why social media took off in such the way that it did is because it created a behind the scenes for VIPs and people of note in this world, and that continues to this day. Like, we have this intrigue as humans to want to know everything behind what everyone else is doing. So that's why the tour notes videos work so well for the WSL. So we wanted to take that kind of model of behind the scenes and create our own version of that with Surfing New South Wales. And so we did, every 2 days we did a behind the scenes clip, which was really fun. And we also did athlete profile videos. So that was kind of just Q&A videos with some of the qualifying series athletes that aren't as well known from New South Wales and internationally, and just asking them about, what they're doing and what direction they're heading in. Got some really fun and interesting answers out of them.
And you mentioned social media. What was the relationship between the website and social media, and how does that relationship, that ecosystem, work best in this day and age?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because Facebook has kind of this hold on everyone at the moment, and whenever they change an algorithm, it just totally sends your digital strategy on a warp. But I think you just need to not focus on that so much and get back to the basics in understanding what it is that people want to read and watch, and keep it really genuine. And I guess in a way, the buzzword at the moment is mindful, having really mindful conversations with people. And that's really what it is being able to have a conversation with people, because people, they just skim, everything is so fast on a news feed. You're just skimming. It's just like scroll, 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 scroll. Even on Instagram stories, you just click forward on now. Like, it's just such a fast turnover. You got 3 seconds pretty much 3 seconds to get someone's attention. So a meaningful conversation that is started with really engaging content is the only thing that's going to stop someone from scrolling or tapping.
And so does the website perform a sort of a hub function, and you feed your social media as content for it, or what's the relationship between the website and the social channels that works best in your view?
Well, I think with an event, it's different to a normal permanent website. So with an event, having as much live and genuine content that is specific to the social media is what you want, because you just want people to see the branding of the event. You want them to be as updated as they possibly can, which is why the World Surf League has obviously made this massive partnership with Facebook, is to be able to broadcast live their stream, because it's so hard to get someone to click through to the World Surf League website and then press play. There's like 4 clicks involved in that. But when it comes up, you get a notification now in Facebook saying it's live, the broadcast is there. So being able to do those things that are making your content immersed in the platform, don't just deny them. Like, you just have to be really smart and work out what works best for your audience and the type that you're doing. So with the Sydney Surf Pro website, we knew lots of people were going to be going there anyway. So being able to just keep feeding through, so sharing the article pages to social media, but also putting a lot of video, immersing that straight into the social media feeds as well. So putting the videos straight up. As well, to be able to do that smarter, you can just make small little trailers and then obviously have the see more. So they're just getting a little taste, but then you know the conversion's still going to be a lot lower than somebody watching the whole video. So you just got to work out what your priorities are and where you want the most results. If you want the most views on a video, it doesn't matter where it is, like video on Facebook, video on Instagram, video and stories broken up, video on the website, cover all bases and nothing's left.
And you mentioned before there's a difference between, say, an event website and just an organisational website. But an organisational website still has to be kind of some value. And I guess this relationship with social and organisational websites, this digital ecosystem as we describe it, is important as well. So in a non-event context, how do you think about making that digital ecosystem work?
Yeah, so with I guess it's an evergreen website, a site that's just remaining all year round. The strategy is a lot different because you've got people coming there all the time anyway. So your SEO build up is a lot better. Like we were really strained with the Sydney Surf Pro website because it was really finished 2 weeks before the actual event started. So that's not enough time for Google to index it. So we really depended on our partners to help push all the traffic through. And when we did a Google search of anything to do with the keywords that would lead to that site, we were 2 or 3 pages back. So luckily we had, really big partners like Destination New South Wales, Manly Council, Coastal Watch, Surfing World, those guys which all help increase it, but push the traffic straight through for you. With a normal site, you have the time to build that relationship with Google, get the SEO, make sure the indexing is all correct and build that audience, which is going to come uniquely to you. So social media and that connection then is different because you set up your article pages and your products a little bit differently. So it's not as on-demand live. And the time frame and strategy can be set out a little bit more consistently, I guess, and worked in more to when people are going to be interacting with you online.
And the relationship of, do you see an organisational evergreen website as kind of a hub for content that gets used and deployed across all channels, or how do you see, and I realise it will vary from organisation to organisation, but what do you think are the big principles that people should be thinking about if they've got a business and they're creating a web platform for it?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to that balance, which is your core market and your potential growth. So understanding what your core needs and what they want to keep them happy, but also the content that you need to actually expand and get that growth from online, be able to reach the new markets and the new little pockets through social media. Because, all it takes is one amazing product or one piece of content to go viral, I guess, and then you're off, So just experimenting with things, but understanding the core and the balance between that and your new audience and your potential new audience.
Fantastic. Sally, finally, for any organisation thinking about their content, what are the top 3 tips you'd give them?
Top 3 tips would definitely be, first of all, have a dedicated social media manager, manager or coordinator or junior, just someone that is at the very edge of what's currently happening, is really switched on with updates, can see a really big scope of content online. So not someone that's just watching, what they like and their habits, but it has a really big broad scope on the international social media network. And being able to not just follow trends, but like slightly diverge off them to help you create the content and then also amplify it. Second of all, I would say that amplification of social media and your content should pretty much come at the forefront when you're developing what that content is, because if you can't amplify it and you don't have the money to put in to the amplification of it, then it's going to go nowhere. It's going to sit on your site and no one's going to see it. So really, it's kind of like a reverse engineering of how we've been brought up to think, because usually in the past it was pay for print advertising, pay for radio advertising, television advertising, and it's done because they've got the market. But these days it's trying to break through that distraction online and millions of businesses. So yeah, reverse engineering the whole social strategy and the amplification strategy and bringing that to the forefront when you're actually creating the content, how you're going to do that. Thirdly, I would say, I didn't think about the third one. Talk to people. Thirdly, I would say talk to people. Emails are pretty much doing us in, I think, and there's nothing more valuable than actually being on the ground and talking to people, doing interviews with them just to pick their brain and find that little key moment. Talking to people that you wouldn't usually talk to, so people that aren't your core, and just sitting down and having really in-depth conversations with them, even just about what they like or where they're thinking, because you never know as a creative or a manager what is going to come out of that and whether that like one tiny little point could change the whole direction for your marketing or social strategy for the next year. And
is this actual interview content you're talking about, or is this really just putting a strategy together that you're talking about when you say talk to a lot of people?
Well, it can be both. I mean, you can set up faux interviews that actually become content. And that's really what the Sydney Surf Pro video series started as. I wanted to video interview them, but I didn't know exactly where those videos were going to go because I didn't know what kind of content I was going to get from each of the interviewees. And as we went along, I was just like, I could have talked to 100 people, but I would never have had enough overlay footage. So yeah, knowing the resources that you've got, but to be able to use that. But yeah, definitely interviewing people as if you're going to publish it, of course, because you've got it on record and you can go back and revisit the energy of those people. But just talking.
Well, so I think it's been an amazing discussion around, people will be blown away, I think, to think about content in the way you've described it. And yeah, really grateful for you spending some time with us.
Thanks very much, John, and look forward to all your future interviewees.
Thanks, Sally.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Customers Matter. We encourage you to subscribe and, if you like it, rate and review it. Head over to Commotion.com/podcast. That's KOMOSION.com/podcast.